Marsha and also Steph, we decided, let's have special offering so that we can do something for the family. So today's offering is for that. And before that, we'd like to hear from Lieutenant Scott how we can best help and support the family.
First of all, thank you. My name is Scott Kerns, and I'm the evening watch commander of the Western District. So the areas where probably most of you live, that's where my officers patrol at night. And when I was told of what the congregation was doing, it was very consistent with what we've experienced so far with the county and the citizens that have shown support for those officers and their family, and even those officers that that did sustain injuries. I wanted to give you brief updates on Dave and Jesse, and even Ashley's mom. First of all, we'll go with Jesse. He got home actually last week, and we might have actually seen some of that in the news, where there were a couple functions where he was in a wheelchair. There was some CrossFit function where that CrossFit exercise program, they did something, I think it was out here in Manassas too, and he showed up there. He's in a wheelchair, but he's able to get around in the wheelchair. He's not walking quite yet, not without assistance at least, and he's making progress. He was the first one to make the furthest progress in terms of getting home. Because Dave, I'm 6'1", and Dave towers over me. He's about 6'5", 6'6", and he's probably got 100 pounds on me. And this is where that really worked in his benefit, because his body experienced so much trauma as a result of what occurred that had it been a lesser person in stature, I don't know if they would have been able to sustain what he did. It was so traumatic what he went through, and it was only a couple short weeks ago, but it would be amazing if I could tell you all of the surgeries that he's had in that short period of time. He has had so many surgeries in such this compressed period of time that it's like, does he ever come out of anesthesia? Because literally he comes out of one surgery and then 30 hours later they got him going on another one on another part of his body that suffered such tremendous, as I said, trauma. But Dave, I know him more than I know Jesse, and I didn't have the privilege of knowing Ashley because, as we all know, she was brand new. And so going back to Dave, knowing how Dave is, he's got this great sense of humor, and he hasn't lost that. I want to share with you. He hasn't lost any of that, and I have to tell you, a lot of that has to do with the support that he gets, not just from us. Now, he's limited on who can come into his room and see him, etc. But he knows because, first of all, he sees the news, but he's also getting the cards and the letters and the well wishes. We don't put a filter on that. That goes right to him. And that lifts his spirits. And he's very grateful. And the most up-to-date news on him is he just went home today. And I just got that a couple hours ago. And by no means is his journey to recovery over. He's got so many more surgeries scheduled, but they have to give that body of his a bit of a break. And they're trying to get his strength up because he's been on his back under anesthesia for so long. That he's got to get him on his back and get his strength up. And they've got him at home, but of course he can't get around. And I want to share with you all this, that when an officer dies in the line of duty or when officers are shot, there's a series of mechanisms that kick in that try to help support the family. And some of them are more lasting than others. And there are funds that are raised, and there are some that the state kicks in, some that the county kicks in. But I will share with you that in Ashley's case, her mom, and all there was Ashley. She didn't have a spouse and she didn't have any children. So there was Ashley's mother, and Ashley's mother is in a position where when she receives, she's next in kin. So when she receives any benefits out of the graciousness of her heart and out of the position that she has been put into over her life, that she can give those monies back to those families in law enforcement that have sustained such loss. And because children of officers that whose parents have died, that's a long journey for them, and there's a lot of trauma involved in that. But it's nice to know that there are certain things that are often taken care of, or at least mitigated, and that is the cost for schooling and some other things that supplement the family, so that the one-parent earner now isn't struggling quite as much. But with Dave and Jesse, it's a little bit different. They didn't die in the line of duty, thankfully, and it's just by pure chance, quite honestly. I know Dave's a big guy, but it could have been so much worse. But with officers that survive, there are some of those mechanisms that kick in, but they're not nearly as lasting, and because it's not a death. We mortals, we put death in a separate category. If you lived, okay, we get it, it's going to be tough, we'll help you out, but often that stuff dries up. And Dave and Jesse cannot be left alone. They need constant care, and they've had family come in, but when the family comes in, we all have jobs, don't we? We have, and granted, if one of our family members goes down, we're going to be there for them. But there's a cost to it. There's also a cost for the care involved with the children. And the children of those that are caring for Jesse and Dave. And all those things are unexpected costs that don't get covered. They don't get covered directly. And there was a discussion, and when I was contacted by your church that you all were doing this, I was so happy to hear it, because shortly after we learned of Ashley's murder and our 2 officers being shot, we knew that it was going to be a long recovery once we realized Jesse and Dave were going to live. We knew it was going to be a long recovery. And that net isn't nearly as substantial often. And we started talking about, gosh, it'd be great if law enforcement had something in place to help support these officers for what might be, in some cases, a lifetime of support. And I don't mean that there's constant charity that has to be given to them. I'm talking about them not being able to be what they were before that horrible evening. They will not be able, not speaking specifically to Jesse and Dave, because I hope that they can come back to the job, but often officers are not able to come back in the positions that they were in, and that compromises their earning ability a lot. And the things that you all are doing make a big difference, honestly, it does. And I want to share this with you one more moment, if I may, sir. That this agency, our agency, the Prince William County Police, I've been with us for over 20 years. And I worked for another agency, by the way, for a couple of years before this. I come from a long line of law enforcement. My brother's a cop out west. My grandfather was a cop. My uncle was a cop. And so I have experience and knowledge of other agencies and the communities in which they serve. And I have to tell you that in my years working and my exposure into law enforcement over many generations as it relates to family, I've never seen a community support their law enforcement officers like you all do. And that's the truth. And we in Prince William County Police Department experience an approval rating by you all in the 90-something%. So what that means is every couple of years, the county contracts with a university, it's typically the UVA, to do a survey of the citizens which we serve. And that survey always returns back a super high approval rating that, by the way, is almost unheard of in law enforcement. When we share that number with region partner officers or even outside the region, honestly, they think it's a typo. But it's not. It's because what you all do for us. And quite honestly, we would not be nearly as successful if it weren't for the support that you all provide us. We're only as good as the community that allows us to service them and support us. So with that, I say thank you. And I thank you for the the generosity. And I thank you for, on behalf of Chief Hudson. And Dave and Jesse, if they were here, I know they would say thank you. And Ashley, bless her soul, I'll say it for her mother, because I was at the funeral, and I know that she said thank you so many times, and she meant every one of them. I'll say it for her, so she thanks you. Thank you again.
Thank you.